Hello from the big island in Kona, Hawaii. I'm here to visit my friend Jay Pak. He is a serial entrepreneur with a super interesting history. And when I think of entrepreneurship, I really think of Jay because he is one of the quickest people to have an idea and then just execute. And so I think it'll be really interesting to hear his stories about entrepreneurship, how he does that. And I think there's a lot of things that I, as well as all of you listeners, will be able to learn from that as well. So without further ado, let's get to it. ABC store. Apparently these are a well-known store here in Hawaii. I'm walking over to, that is Jay's latest business venture. And there he is. We're actually here because we're closing up shop. And before he closes, we're gonna have our interview. Here we are. Let's get it. What's up? Hold on, I'm gonna turn on your mic. There we go.
What up, what up?
Come on, connect. There we go, it's connected.
Hey, what's up, people?
All right, who are you?
Here we are at Kuai.
No, who are you?
Oh, who am I? I thought you said, where are we? My name's Jay Pak. Live out here in Kona, Hawaii. Proud business owner of this establishment.
Yeah.
Started 3 weeks ago, called Kuai.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's pretty much a combination of some of the most trending things taking place in Japan and all throughout Southeast Asia. It's a blind box. We got a blind box vending machine. We have a slew of gashapon machines and even a mini crane game. This is pretty much Kona's first introduction of these types of machines. So, you know, we're the first store, I guess, to have this anywhere in Kona, and anywhere on the Big Island for that matter. So, you know, we really obviously got this idea from Japan when my wife and I visited. Thought it'd be something fun to really bring to this small town and engage with my kids in. So yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, and what's cool is I've seen you kind of just check your app and you're just seeing like money coming in. I mean, this is something you said it, well, you don't really exactly forget it. You got to open up the shop every morning and evening, but you know, you don't have to be here, you know, watching the store or anything like that.
Yeah, I think some business owners. Yeah, it is.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Tell
It was
us.
a masterpiece.
Yeah.
Tell us.
You.
Oh wait, hold on.
You know
Hold on.
He was the one that came up with this idea.
I am literally doing just like a fun like just interview of story. Could you say that again? I love
The
where
reason why it's
Oh,
so
yeah, go on,
great
Margaret.
is because it manages itself.
Yeah.
Like the
Exactly.
store.
Oh,
you
dude,
don't
tell
have
me
to
more.
work here. So you have all these people wanting to come here, and you even have all the things people want. Like Sanrio.
Yeah.
Sanrio is so popular
Let's go.
right now. Yeah.
Yes.
I do, because I'm a victim of Sanrio. I'm a victim.
Yeah.
I looked through this, I was like, to my parents, I was like, oh my god, they have Hello Kitty.
Let's go.
I was like, I want that. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, this is a good money grab.
So, and you don't have to have anyone working here, and that's like the perfection of your business.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So cool.
You'll have a lot of customers coming here.
Yeah, all the time. What
We
do you guys
were
work?
gonna mimic
You
what
had
you guys
me,
were doing.
so-
Cool.
We were thinking about it.
Nice. Yeah, let me know if you
Yeah.
need help, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you guys trying to open up?
That's all.
We
that
don't know.
matters.
We just want to move to Hawaii.
Oh,
like,
I
so we're
see.
thinking about it.
I
Like,
see.
I'm thinking street corn for now.
But if I came
saw
here,
street corn
please.
Me and my friends would
They
definitely
they
come
do
here.
have
my
one.
boyfriend
Just
I saw it.
loves
Kona
all these
corn.
Elote?
little like
You're
But
talking
I
about
was thinking we want to do
He
Kona.
loves
well, not
collecting
Kona
them,
corn 'cause
so-
he's doing it. But we
Yeah.
want to do street
Yeah.
corn.
awesome.
And then maybe some other like, what were you talking about? Like fruits with.
Oh.
He wants to know our business for whatever reason. I don't know
Oh.
why.
Oh,
We were
it's
gonna
like
start
we're
our
all
own
here.
business.
Let's do it.
But it's with all the vegetables and fruits, and we're gonna add our own tahini
Let's
and
go.
like flavors, like Mexican flavors.
Yeah. This
'Cause-
place needs it. We don't have a good taco spot here.
Exactly.
We need
and we would.
Some more
We just want to
infusion.
leave Canada. It's too cold.
Yeah, come.
We're coming.
Come true.
Oh,
Yeah.
let's talk
Yeah.
about it. Oh.
Do it.
Anyways, we think this is
Thank you so
genius.
much.
Yeah,
Thank you
we
guys.
walked past this
Thank you,
today
guys.
and we were like,
Thank you.
they got it going for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Good night, guys.
You
Bye.
too. Bye.
Wow, that was fun. That was really cool.
So I guess that was the validation to your question. Straight up, right? The coolness of this business is I don't have to be here.
Yeah.
Right? And I think for anyone that works in this plaza, they all look at me like, wow, this is genius. But in reality, it's just I'm doing what actually Asian culture is doing in a lot of ways, because I got this concept from Japan. A lot of these stores I went to are unmanned as well. So what I'm doing is pretty much bringing over what's popular, what's doing well, and the introduction of the tap to pay, all that, it's just synonymous with, I think, automation at the end of the day. So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's cool. Well, I mean, but I think that this is a good picture of like the realities of shop. Like, so like you're just, it's nighttime right now.
Yeah.
You just came by. You're gonna close up the shop, but you also what are those boxes? Yeah, what you
I
got
just
here?
got their shipments from Japan. So these are just to restock this toy in particular today. You know, we saw that stock was running low. They're capybara keychains. So if you guys don't know about capybaras, you need to get on your social media game, because they're the new honey badger. Remember when honey badger was coming out with all the
What's honey badger? I don't know.
You don't know about honey badger?
I don't know
Bro, it had all the airtime on all the viral streams about what a honey badger was. You don't know? Man, you gotta catch up, Sam. So I'm talking to people like Sam.
Where do you find these like trends and stuff, dude?
Bro, it's just like people know cats are synonymous with YouTube, right? So are other animals. You just gotta, it's a subculture, like everything we're doing in this shop.
I know, but where do you look for it? Do you look for it like on Reddit or something?
No, it's just comes up on my feed now, because I'm
What
probably
feed?
watching anime on my social media feed.
Ah, like Instagram and stuff?
Yeah.
So this is what I like to see. Like, this is the reality of owning the shop, but like this is the level of maintenance you have. Like, you're just like throwing balls in there. And you're getting this from Japan, right?
Yeah, these are from Japan. Actually, no, some of them are from Japan, some of them are from China. Just depends. Depends on the IP and all that. But yeah, simple as that. Load them up.
And then what the? Yeah.
Yes.
So can you explain why you have like security stuff here?
Yeah, because I'm not here. So especially that little message that came out at night that starts to activate after 9 p.m. You know, just for any, you know, as it gets later at night, you never know who's walking around. So just, it's not throughout the day, but yeah. So we have a lot of cameras just to monitor, give us feedback in case anyone's wanting to even share something like that. My kid just talked on the camera saying goodnight to me as he sleeps. So
That is.
let people know we're watching them. We're also recording a lot of fun moments that we get to share.
Oh my goodness, there's so many like things going on.
Yeah. So yeah, you can. I'm about to close up shop. I don't know if you wanted to see this, but
Yeah, no, do it.
it's pretty simple. Yeah.
I mean, as you're closing up
yeah,
shop.
it's so cool. What's up, guys?
I mean, yeah, you could just kind of like, yeah, keep closing up shop, but then like you were saying. Remember you were saying like why you got such a small space. Like you were talking about this concept of like prototyping and kind of keeping it small.
Yeah, I feel like doing business, if there's ever an opportunity to do some kind of proof of concept, go with that first and foremost, right? It's obviously, you know, when I used to sell software, we used to do POCs too, right? When we're selling to these enterprise clients $100,000 worth of software, but they didn't want to sign a contract for, you know, that much money, 6 figures right off the bat, we give them like some kind of POC to test out the software, you know, at a lesser rate, like $5,000 or something, right? So it's just testing the waters almost.
And this is your first business here in Hawaii.
In Kona, Hawaii.
You've lived here for about like 3 years,
Yeah,
and then but this is like your first time kind of actually, you know, doing a business here.
yeah, definitely my first time, and I think 3 years was great to get a lay of the land. You know, I think that's always important whenever you're thinking about starting business. You know, get some type of input from the land, whether it's living there or having friends who live there that you trust, who can give you input on what may or may not do well.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, so pretty much a small space. The rent is real good.
Super low. Yeah, rent is so cheap. You know, it's the cheapest one in this whole plaza, but I'm probably making more revenue here than the majority of these stores.
Yeah, it's in like I don't know how they calculate it. It's like revenue per square footage or something.
Yeah, you could say that. So
And you're making pretty.
I've only been open for 3 weeks, so I don't even have a full month, but the trends are doing pretty well. without divulging too much yet. I don't want to be too, apparent or transparent with everything yet.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. Well, yeah, go ahead. Go to the shop.
You're gonna fast forward this part, right?
I'm gonna tell you what I tell the other people, which is I don't really edit.
No, man.
I do the raw.
You gotta edit, bro.
Full stuff, man.
You gotta edit, bro. That's how you're gonna get your views up. At least if you're not gonna edit, tell the people at least watching this that they can watch this on 2x speed, because I talk slow.
That's right. This is right.
I talk very slow, so
That's right.
I'm not a fast talker. I take a lot of time to process it. So.
I thought a fun thing that Jay mentioned was that Kuai, that logo. They came up with the name. That logo. His wife is she's really good with like Photoshop, creating designs, but she actually did not create that.
Nope. She's done many great logos, by the way.
Huh?
But she's done many great logos, by the way. But I did not want to bother her with this one for whatever reason. It was just a difficult season. So what did I do? I don't think it was OpenSea, but I did go on some AI platform, logo making platform. I forgot which one. I just spit in, the general stuff, and it gave me that, and I bought it.
I mean, how long did it take you? How long did it take you to get the logo?
Seconds.
Seriously, seconds.
Yeah, seconds.
Crazy. Like, what did it used to take you? Like, if you have to do this thing.
Logo with my wife, I have to like sit down, taller the vision. So it'd probably, and then see the different designs, edits, all that. Maybe I don't know, a few weeks.
Few weeks.
Yeah.
So literally few weeks down to like a few seconds.
Exactly.
That is crazy.
Yep.
However, I will say that all this artwork, you see this painting and whatnot, that was his wife, which is really cool. She drew that free-handed. So shout out.
Oh yeah, she is a boss.
Yeah, it's really cool. Really, really, really cool. But yeah, I mean, I think this is cool to show. Like, this is like the reality of running a business. But this, he just comes in at nighttime, closes it down.
Attention.
Yeah, I noticed that you did that yesterday.
This is the most manual part of the job.
You use that thing to shut off the lights.
Hey, whatever. I'm not that tall. Also, tell them what we're doing today, Sam. Like, I was able to go to the beach today. We were able to go visit the national park, the Volcano National Park.
That's right.
I was able, just have a fun time with our kids all day. So I think that's the goal with, I don't know, for me, that's my value system, right?
I mean, I would say like that's one of the cool parts about running a business like this is you don't have to man it 24/7. You open up in the morning around 7, 8 a.m., come back at nighttime, and in the meanwhile, people are just coming by and paying for it, which is like really, really, really cool.
Alexa, stop. Simple. Yeah, maybe you can like at least do one edit and just see how long it took me to close down shop.
Yeah, what I found is if I like try to tell myself I'm gonna edit it, I like never push out the video. So I'm just like, all right, you know what?
Just push it out, Sam.
Push it, ship it.
Your wife pushed out 2 kids for you. You can push it out.
Boom. He is done. Well, he has to put that lock on. But once he puts on that lock, done for the night.
Dunzo, bro.
I mean, theoretically, couldn't you like pay someone who already like works around here? Just be like, hey, can you do this for me?
Yeah. I mean, what are the chances that someone can open and do what I just did? Very high.
Yeah. All right. Let's go for it, dude. So I already said that we're in Kona, Hawaii. So, but yeah, let's. I mean, we already kind of started on your business, so tell us kind of like how that came to be. Like you said, you were here for 3 years, kind of thinking about what business you should run, but you had a few other ideas that you were thinking.
Yeah.
Like, walk me through the process.
If you look at one of these spaces, we're looking at one of these spots to do a different retail store. That's also trending in Korea right now. But the reason we didn't do that one is because we found out the investment to do something like that would be maybe 400 grand, something around there.
$400,000.
Yeah, so it was just, Stop by for the homie right here. Hey. Cruise us.
Wow, it's loud.
Cool. So yeah, we were like, man, do we want to sink all of our money or that much money into something where the rent cost would be like $10,000 a month for a unit here? That's pretty prime real estate where I'm at, actually, in Kona.
Yeah, so I mean, tell the people about Kona, because there might be people who's watching this, they don't really know what Kona is.
Yeah, Kona is really known for what, like coffee, right? Kona Coffee, Kona Brewery.
So Kona, one of the biggest islands of Hawaii. So Hawaii is a series of islands.
Kona is in Big Island, right? So Big Island, like Sam said, is the largest island. Out of all the Hawaiian islands, there's Maui, there's Oahu, which has, Honolulu, Waikiki, right? So yeah, we're, I'd say, the largest island, but also one of the more country islands, meaning we're a lot more slower in lifestyle. There's no tall buildings around here, right? Like Oahu and Waikiki, you have skyscrapers, you have larger buildings, right? So it's very slower here, but that doesn't mean there's no tourism. So there's a lot of tourism happening every day in Kona, especially with multiple visitors or people who often frequent Hawaii. They get kind of sick of Oahu or Honolulu, so they venture out into the other islands.
Is it similar to kind of like how New Yorkers, they avoid Times Square because there's always tourists? It's kind of like really, really touristy.
Yeah.
Do you find like the other islands?
There's that, and also people who just vibe better with the slower pace of life.
Right. I see.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so now we know what Kona is. So I guess a lot of your kind of customers, your target customers are probably not the local people who live here. It's more the tourists that kind of go by.
Actually, what we're trying to do with any successful business, I notice at least in Kona, is some of my friends who do run businesses, who have been running businesses for a few years here, they find a sweet spot in appealing to locals and tourists.
Oh, interesting.
Right, so that's what we're hoping for. That's why I created a social media platform. That's not really for the tourists. That's really to attract locals and really create community with them, update them. So it's, like I said, we've only been open for 3 weeks. As I check the camera and all the feedback I've been getting, we've been seeing a lot of locals coming through. Having Google ads and Instagram ads helps track all that, obviously.
So you're already doing like Google and Instagram ads and stuff?
Yeah, and it's helped track, people who take direction to our store, right, from an ad, all that stuff. So it's been really nice to see maybe a 60-40 split, 60% tourists, 40% locals. So I think we're kind of almost where we want to be.
Very cool. And so doing this business, and how are you thinking about either do you want to grow it like crazy, or are you just kind of seeing how it's going? What are kind of your thoughts or strategy behind it?
Yeah, I'm trying to process all that right now, because there is an opportunity to actually open the same style business in Oahu, in some of the bigger malls where foot traffic is 10x compared to here.
Wow.
And obviously it's just a real good opportunity, and pretty easy for me to island hop from Kona to Hawaii or Honolulu. It's 45-minute flight, and from me to the airport's like 15 minutes, so it's like sitting in.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it's like driving from Los Angeles to Irvine, But yeah, so we're just vetting that out, but at the same time we're just trying to justify all that, by understanding how much revenue potential there will be, all that stuff. So we're still just trying to keep our eyes open, but also try and see if we even need to. Do I need to continue to make more money? I don't know. Can I just live off one store and be happy? There's a lot of value kind of analyzing happening too. So we're just thankful that it's doing what it's doing right now. And I do keep my eye towards the future, but still happy to take it a day at a time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it'd be fun to kind of understand where this all came from. So let's go way back. So you and I grew up together.
Yeah.
We parents are Korean. You were born in Korea?
I was born in Denver,
you were
raised
born
in
in
Los
Denver?
Angeles.
Oh, I didn't know that.
How you know, man? I thought we were back, bro. Come on.
Okay. What were your parents doing in Denver?
What were they doing in Denver? I think my dad was finishing up college at the University of Colorado.
Okay.
Go Buffaloes. I'm a big Deion Sanders fan. But and then he started just corporate work, and my mom was just working odd jobs, retail store jobs, help support the family. And yeah, that was our. I only lived there for up to 10 years, and then moved to LA. And my dad became an entrepreneur in Koreatown. He started. I think he took over one of the first like computer shops in the area, where they would like, they compete with stores like Compaq, all that stuff, where you're selling computers, software, all that stuff. So I was in his store, watching him build computers, sell them. That was a fun experience. And I don't know, what was the question going?
So do you think that you were influenced by that? Because like my dad was also an entrepreneur, and I don't know if it was directly influenced me. I assume it influenced me. Maybe some part genetics. Like I don't really know.
Right.
Like, do you feel like that your dad going into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, I think there's definitely an influence from my dad. I think just being Korean is a big influence too. In my sociology class in college one time, they had a whole section dedicated to Korean business people for whatever reason. Yeah, and I looked into it, and it's, in Korea, what I learned, like a lot of the people just worked where they lived. So everyone was incentivized to be an entrepreneur in some way, right? In the trade that you had. And you see that in America too, a lot of places, even, it's such a deeply ingrained train of thought where it's like a lot of people's last name in America, for instance, resemble the occupation they had.
Yeah,
right?
like Smith.
Blacksmith.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
So, I think it's culturally in me as well. As a Korean, I feel like Koreans are very entrepreneurial for whatever reason. I think it's just this resiliency built in. But yeah, I think there are shades of that. And for me, maybe early on, entrepreneurship always, when I saw my dad working, there's a lot of, he was making a lot of money at one point.
Did you help him with what he was doing at all?
I would go to the store, and there was no real mentorship from him, right? So I would just watch some of his workers making the computers. But a lot of times I was just there to play. I would go to the neighborhood bowling alley on Vermont and 4th, Chateau, shout out, Shadow 39. But I don't know. I just saw him making a lot of money, and I saw our lifestyle changing. I was like, oh, this is cool. Seemed like he was happy, all that stuff, kind of doing what he wanted to do.
By the way, I just want to pause and just show this. As we're walking, we're just like walking by the ocean here. So you can see the beautiful waves and stuff. Yeah, there we go. Wow. Yeah, so we're just kind of nonchalantly walking, but we're just walking by some beautiful things. So anyway.
Will they be able to hear that?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I think somewhat. Yeah, I think somewhat. Anyway, so yeah. So you would go, so I guess like you weren't like, I mean, there are some, like, especially amongst immigrant families, you'll have like, if they have a restaurant, like they'll have the kids bus tables and stuff like that. Like, so it doesn't seem like it was that kind of experience for you. It's just that you were more around it.
Yeah, definitely just around it. So like
you weren't assembling computers and stuff.
I was a little bit.
Oh, really?
Just for fun. Yeah, that's how I learned to assemble computers. But yeah, I was just mostly focused on, I don't know, having fun, I guess.
Okay.
Being a kid.
Okay, so kind of initial exposure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think like some people who have parents who only work a 9 to 5 or something, that is their understanding of what a job is.
Right.
Whereas you saw that your family's quality of life was increasing. You saw that your dad kind of could work his own hours. And you're just like, I mean, at the very minimum, you saw that it's an option.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it was never something that was taught to me, honestly.
Do you wish it was? Do you wish that he would have, kind of set you aside and kind of taught you about, hey, this is what I'm doing?
So many things in life, right? But not just business, but so many other things in life I wish right? I think, and he's expressed that is one of his regrets too, right?
Oh, really?
You know, not spending enough time with us. But at the same time, we're immigrant, you know? He's an immigrant, so he had to work his ass off, and there's just more understanding on my end for the time he put in. So I really don't delve into the wishful thoughts anymore. It's like, man, I'm just grateful.
Did you used to dwell on that, when you were younger?
Of course, yeah. But I've done my piece with it, and it's all good now.
Yeah. Okay. So you were kind of growing up, and then
Let's go across here.
yeah. Oh man.
Oh man, it's bad.
There's someone karaokeing, and they're struggling. They're struggling a little bit.
A lot of it. Oh my gosh. They're singing "Shine Bright Like a Diamond."
Off key.
And there ain't no diamonds there. Let's just say that.
Okay. So, all right. So, growing up, I mean, and we met in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, middle school in the Locker Center area.
Yep.
And yeah, tell me about middle school. Middle school, high school.
I think that was just a season of trying to make friends, trying to find out how cool you are, trying to find out, man, I don't know, like, I think it was just a big impressionable moment in terms of who would be your lifelong friends, stuff like that, right? So obviously I didn't have that hindsight that I did now, but yeah, it was an interesting season where, we went to a predominantly white school.
Yeah.
And somehow all the Korean Americans got together.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's kind of like, especially with, you mentioned immigrants, it's like, I feel like Koreans, like many other ethnic groups, when they're immigrating, it's like one person goes and they tell their cousins, they tell their brothers, they bring them over and they tell their friends, and so they all go to the same place.
Yeah.
And the place where we grew up was in Locker Center, and there were a lot of Koreans who were immigrating there in the, in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, for sure. I first moved to Glendale when I moved from Colorado. We quickly found out that city was being run by the Armenians.
Yeah.
So we're like, where are the Koreans at? Oh, they're in Locker Center. So we quickly moved to Locker Center. Which is cool. Yeah.
So kind of growing up in that dynamic, I mean, how was that for you? Like, is there anything that...
That was great, because I think for the first time I started meeting people who looked like me. I mean, I had some friends in elementary that were also Korean Americans, but I think it was just a wider expression of that. And I felt like we were really coming into our own of just being teenagers, right? So, I don't know, we had more freedom, freedom to roam the streets and stuff together. So,
you mentioned something. Why was it important that, like you mentioned, you started seeing people who look like you? Why was that important to you?
Because you don't see those people who look like you in America on TV or in the movies, really anywhere else, outside of maybe going to church. That was a big social system for us. So I think it was important because, they get you. They get the experience you're going through, the tension you're living in, all that stuff. So, and it was just easy to talk to them and vibe with them. We all knew some level of Korean. And, we'd all be sent to Hangrakyo. And the jokes would just continue to ensue from there.
I think it's like one of the things that at least I felt when I was going to our high school and middle school was like, you felt like a foreigner, right? Like you were always reminded of the fact that you were a foreigner. And when we were growing up, K-pop and K-drama wasn't really a thing. Like it was very uncool to be Korean. So, I mean,
it was cool within Korean culture, and
right.
Within our Korean groups, it was like cool to go to a HOT concert.
Right,
sure.
But then like growing up kind of predominantly white neighborhood, you feel very much like a foreigner.
Yeah.
And so because of that, like if you bring a foreigner friend to your house, and then suddenly before you come in, you're like, hey dude, can you take off your shoes? Like even if it's a slight momentary feeling of discomfort, like you still have to, talk about it.
Yeah.
But whereas with your Korean friends, they just kind of know, like they don't say anything and they just take off their shoes.
Yeah, for sure. That was the best, dude. It's always just easier. It's like,
And extensive food, cultures, whatever.
all that, dude. You talk to even any Korean, any Asian American person who's dating any other ethnicity, white, black, Hispanic, they have to teach them, and vice versa. If you're another race, you have to teach them about your culture.
Yeah.
Right. So imagine having to do that all the time with new friends. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah.
It becomes.
And I think it makes you feel even more like a foreigner.
Yeah.
And like that's assuming that the friend doesn't make fun of you for it.
Exactly. And we thought it was a bad thing, honestly, when we were younger. We thought, like you said, we didn't feel like we fit in. But now looking back on it, it was a great thing for us. Because now I know how to live in that tension of not belonging, right? So let's say I travel to anywhere else in the world. I've been to maybe 15, 20 nations in the past 3 years. From Brazil to Iraq to Turkey, even North Korea, India, right? And now when I'm in these different cultures, different nations, I'm able to just assimilate a lot better than some of the other people I travel with who have never had that experience, who have been so monocultural growing up.
Right.
So for me, I'm like, I'll bet. Like I can, I know how to be respectful. I know how to at least survey the land or try and understand culture in a way where I'm respectful, honoring, mindful at the very least.
I think even like one small example of that is like you're not a local Hawaiian who's lived here all your life.
Yeah.
But even in the 3 years that you've been here, you picked up on certain mannerisms and certain vocabulary that the locals use.
Yeah.
Like instead of saying like in America you'd be like, hey brother, what's up? Like you would say, hey brother.
Yeah.
I noticed that you would do that.
Yeah.
And then they have the whole like
The
this thing.
shaka.
What is this?
The shaka.
Shaka?
Yeah. We can cross the street.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the lighting over there better. But yeah, like you use your hand. But I think that ties to like what you were saying is like, I think if you come from a monocultural world.
Shaka, the looser you do it to is the more local you are. You can't go like, that means you're real touristy. So, right? You gotta go loose. That's
Loose.
barely look like a shaka.
Yeah. But I think that's like a great example of like, and I think that does tie to the idea of business because the better that you understand your target customers, because like there are businesses who try to sell like let's say internationally, and they're like, here, we're from America, we're from this country, like use our products.
Right. Sometimes it goes well. Right?
Sometimes it goes well. Sometimes it goes well, but I think sometimes I think some people use the U.S. products like Instagram or whatever as is because there's no other option.
Yeah.
But if like a local competitor that understands the populace better, that understands the shaka is a little bit loose when you're more local, like those little small nuances, it does give you an edge.
It does, 100%. And that's also, we're walking past the store or the shopping village that I'm in right now. Another big reason we started is when we walked around this whole complex, the majority of the business owners here are 40, 50, 60, even 70 years old.
Oh, really?
So what does that say about the products they're probably bringing in to prime time, Kona, Hawaii? It's probably going to be, a lot of times, I hate to say this, maybe a little outdated, maybe not as relevant for the times,
Because they probably just look at each other and be like, oh, that they're doing pretty well. I could probably do that same thing, but a little cheaper,
or I've been here for 20 years, I don't need to change.
Right? Interesting.
So, for us, I thought that was another kind of factor into us potentially doing well. Like, we've heard many comments, just like you saw earlier today when the strangers.
Yeah, that was like not
by.
planned at all. Like, we just saw some random people walking by, and that's like a great example of just a customer interaction.
Yeah, we just get clients and customers or people telling us all the time, oh, this is what Kona needed, right? So we kind of did our feasibility study to a degree.
What's a feasibility study?
Feasibility study is just, for instance, let's say you're trying to open a restaurant. One part of a feasibility study is to gauge foot traffic in the place you're opening,
So how many people are going?
Exactly. So what does a feasibility study include in that, or the detail include? It means you stay outside the restaurant that you want to open at, or the space you want to open at, and stay there from sunrise to sunset and just see how many people walk by. Or if it's a pre-existing business, see how many people go in there. And
why do you think that's important? Because like someone could say like, hey, speed to market is faster. Just go. You'll figure it out as you go. Like just go faster.
I think it's important for different businesses and industries, like retail, it's very important because foot traffic's a big common denominator of success, right? Foot traffic leads to conversion. So it's important to do any type of feasibility at the general level because, man, you just want to, at least do your research. Let's say you have investors, you want to be able to prove the concept beyond what you think is a good idea, right? In some type of numbers or metrics, KPIs, all that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool.
Do your homework. That's what it is, pretty much.
do your homework. So I think there is like this balance between like, because I think you're one of the fastest guys I know in when it comes to, I have an idea, and then before I know it, like you already have like a website up, you have Instagram ads, like, I look at that and I'm like, dude, I can't do that. But so there is this element of speed is super important, but also there is an element on the opposite end of like, but like maybe slow down just a bit to figure out like, hey, does this make sense to launch here? Let's look at some of the competitors. Let's look at what there are some gaps in the market, etc.
Right. So
what
what's
the
the
heck?
question?
They close it?
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
Closed now.
Well, is there another spot where we can just like chill and the lighting's okay?
Like sit down or walk?
I'd say sit down.
Sit down, lighting, this hour. Only bars, or maybe the Kona Pier where we're at.
Yeah. That'd be great lighting, just so you can see our faces. I noticed as we were walking down back and forth the streets.
Our faces are
Yeah.
black.
It's okay, you can hear our voice as well because we've got a mic.
Maybe over there. Is that
Yeah, that's good. So, high school, college, any kind of like significant experience that you feel that you had during those times?
As it relates to what I'm doing now?
No, it doesn't have to be about business, just you.
In personal,
Yeah.
high school. I think high school for me was, like going back to the immigrant thing, we grew up as what the US terms latchkey.
Yeah.
Kids, right? So that means we grew up without parents, pretty much. Right?
Because immigrant parents, they're just trying to survive. They're trying to put food on the table, so they're working, and the kids are left at home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I said that wrong. Not that we don't have parents, but they're just not around all the time.
Because
right?
they're busy. Yeah.
So we come home after school, cook our own ramyeon. That's where I learned to make some spam, all that stuff. So I think in high school, that just continued to help me build some independence, I guess, to a degree. But also, it also created a vacuum sometimes where I needed to, just hone in on who I was, what is my purpose, all these things, right? These real big questions, fundamental things.
Yeah.
But, by the grace of God, I was actually incorporated, or not incorporated, but really brought into a church. Really, that helped give me purpose, put some sense of identity into me and help form at least some type of value system for me on how I would live my life. Even from then till now, some things have held true, right? So I think those are really formative. But then there's a real famous story in the Bible that talks about the prodigal son. And I feel like I had that moment where the prodigal son would get the father's inheritance and lose all the money.
Yeah, here. Perfect. Let's just let's set up shop here.
Yeah.
Hold up. Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Bring it in a little bit
See
more.
some facials.
All right, cool. So you what is it? So you're saying prodigal son.
Yeah, prodigal son. So there's a story that talks about the prodigal son, where pretty much the youngest son asks his father for all of his inheritance money at a very young age, which his father gives him. He ends up blowing all the money on partying, wild nights, and eventually comes home hoping to be forgiven, at least reprimanded, and just working as a slave for his dad, but instead is celebrated and welcomed back with so much love. And that was my story. I resonated with that too a lot. So I had that real pivotal moment in high school, came to know who God was, and came to know what community was all about, and eventually fell away during my college years, where I really fell into kind of the vices of the world.
So you went to UNLV.
I went to Vegas for school.
Las Vegas.
To study and major in hotel management, which at the time I think it was the second best program in the US. So yeah, I went there, but unfortunately I fell into a lot of what they call sin, and just really became debaucherous, meaning I just went after the, like I said, vices of the world. So I went after wealth, I went after drugs, I went after women at the highest levels, explored it in a way where, it's just left me so empty, when I had a lot of money, when I had all the women, when I was doing all the drugs, selling drugs, all that stuff. And so that was my college experience. And what I really recall was just the emptiness I had in college. And what I found out was I was just trying to find that spark, that love that I had for God when I was in high school, in all these different places. But at the end, they all just left me so much more emptier. And that's why I actually made the decision to drop out of college at that time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
After 2 years, and I moved back home. So that was like, I had to leave Sin City, right? I really understood what sin was, living in that city, which I hope to never go back to. But anyways, so yeah, moved back home and try to get my life right again.
So what you do? What happened after that?
After that, I came home and I just started working in the same field I was majoring in. So I was working at hotels, just doing like front desk work. It's working my way up the ladder. I was always a good worker. I felt like for me, I don't know if this is also for a lot of immigrant kids, like we just know how to work hard. So like for some reason, my work ethic was, I guess.
Like what's
awesome.
What's an example? Like when did you realize that your work ethic was stronger than, let's say, other people, your colleagues?
Yeah, when I kept getting promoted, like it was a quick ascension because, they would see that I simple basic things that you don't need to really teach you. Come in on time, right? Seek to do more than you're asked. Pretty much going above and beyond, right? And I feel like that was just natural for me. And maybe a lot of that came at the expense of me trying to perform because I wanted to show off in a lot of ways, right? Get approval, maybe stuff I didn't have at home.
Yeah.
So yeah, just whatever the reason, I worked my ass off. I'd work extra shifts. I'd work, just like, I think I really adopted the culture of the hotel industry, meaning I thought I was such a big cog in the wheel that I would sacrifice my sleep, my enjoyment on the weekends to work more. So I think that just showed through and earned a lot of respect and trust from my managers and bosses.
Yeah. Okay. So what happened after that? So you're working at hotel jobs.
And I worked my way up into senior management, I guess. I had my own office. So I was in my young 20s, and I remember showing some of my friends who were visiting my hotel, who were some were still in college, right? Obviously, because I dropped out at that time. Showing them my office, telling them how much I'm making. I think I was making like $35,000 a year. They're like, wow, like you made it. Like, so it was a real like cool moment that even though I dropped out of college, I had a really steady job, and I guess I had a real clear career path like towards becoming a GM, where you would make at least six figures, which at that time in the early 2000s, that was a lot of money, right? So
Do you wish that you would have finished? Like, how do you feel about like kind of being quote unquote like college dropout versus like do you think like what would have happened if I had gone on the track of staying in school and finishing? Like, do you think it would have been better?
I ended up going back to college.
Oh, okay.
So I think after working professionally, I was like, I didn't even finish school. So I did go back to school.
Why did you feel that?
I think, I don't know, it's just ingrained in me that I need to get my degree. Like I feel
Is it like an Asian thing?
I don't know, probably. I remember when I eventually graduated from college at Cal Poly Pomona, I remember just like posting about it on Instagram or Facebook at the time and being like, oh, I got a piece of paper. was like, oh, this is it. This is all I did this for. It's a piece of paper just to tell my future employers. And I think that was a big thing too. Like, it was such a big checkbox when you're applying for jobs. Do you have a degree? Right? When you're applying for jobs, they want to know if you have that Bachelor of Science. So I think that was another motivating factor for me.
Do you think, like, thinking back, it still has a lot of value? Like, or do you think?
Hell no, man. College was like just professional, like, babysitting. Like, all it did was teach me how to do my laundry and wash dishes. Like, college was the biggest waste of money. I mean, a lot of people say maybe you can go to MBA program, make good contacts and colleague or connections, all that. But dude, I've gotten into college education at other workplaces, and yeah, college is a waste.
I mean, essentially, actually, I interviewed somebody recently who's going to UCLA, and he told me right now, do you know how much tuition is? No. So UCLA, I think, is around like 50, 60K, but at private schools like Northwestern or whatnot, it is $90,000 a year.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
So I'm looking at this, I'm like, so you're going to come out of school $360,000 and in debt, and you're going to make like a salary of like 40,000 if you can get a salary, if you can get a job. So like there's this like whole other thing, but the other alternative to that is what we did a long time ago, which is this concept of apprenticeship. It's like you working somewhere, you gaining a skill, and you kind of working your way up, which is essentially what you did. But it's interesting that you went back to that route, and I don't know if you necessarily needed it.
I did not. Yeah, not working in the same field. I mean, back then when I was maybe aspiring to become a GM, you probably needed it. But college, but there were also stories of GMs of hotels that didn't have a degree either, right? So I was like, I don't know. I guess I did it because all my superiors had a degree too. I guess this is what I felt like I could give back to the community at that time. Maybe like teaching future hotel management kids or students, the trades from my experience. But yeah, looking back, I'll not do college. And yeah, unless the college was, I think Germany has I heard a schooling system, where they really get you into the trades that you want to do.
Oh, really?
They don't value, like, in America, if you go to a trade school, or like electrician, it's like seen as a lower level school, right? But in Germany,
same thing in military, is like kind of down.
Germany, they have like trade schools, like for a guy they notice is good at being a car mechanic. You go there and you get applicable skills, you graduate, and you get a really good job.
Yeah,
they value that. So
totally.
It's just, I don't know, just getting people into what they want to be doing at an earlier age, without caring about the prestige of all these schools, I think is cool, and doesn't account for all the junk stuff you're taught at schools too, which I don't even want to get into.
So I know you were doing consulting at some point. Was this after this point? Because you were flying around everywhere. Like, it felt like all over the world. Like,
oh yeah. So that was like my dream job. I was working, pretty much we're contracted by the AAA Diamond Rating Association. So they're pretty much, how there's a Michelin star rating for restaurants? 3 stars, whatever. The hotels have a 5 diamond rating given by AAA. I guess they're both in the auto industry for whatever reason. They love hospitality, I guess. But yeah, so I contracted with them because I had such extensive experience in the hotel industry. I was able to actually be flown out to all the top hotels that receive these 5 diamond ratings, or aspire to receive the 5 diamond ratings. So like the Ritz-Carltons, the Montages of the world.
By the way, how did you get into this? Is it just
Craigslist? I just found the ad on Craigslist.
Seriously?
And I was looking for another job. This is when Craigslist was blowing up. Like that was, it was like Indeed before Indeed.
Yeah. By the way, Craigslist is simply a very ugly website.
Very ugly.
That just, for every city, just has ads, and it's free. I think that's why a lot of people use it. It's super ugly, but it gets the job done. And tons of people use it.
Yeah. It was so weird.
So you found the job on Craigslist.
Yeah.
And it's just like, hey.
And back then, you had to kind of try and discern whether or not it's a scam.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's right, scams.
It was very interesting. I involved my dad in the process, but the guy hired me turned out to be legit. We met, and he did an apprenticeship with me, kind of, I guess. He took me out on the first job, see how I would do. I really sucked. He just cussed me out every time.
But you would fly to a hotel.
So the job was pretty much you get flown out. Actually, you pay for everything on your credit card. So I pay for airfare, the hotel booking on my credit card. And the job entails that we would be like sometimes a secret shopper, right? Or sometimes we'd be announced. Most of the times it's like we try to be incognito. So we go without the hotel personnel knowing about us, because what we're there to do is grade them according to the criteria of the 5 diamond or the diamond rating. So did they use your name at check-in? How well did they personalize service? How well did they, how many times did they offer an upgrade? All this stuff I'm checking. So pretty much back then we had cell phones, obviously, so I'm trying to record everything as I'm being checked in, so I can really document everything. For instance, the hotel clerk said, everything the bellman did. And then when we get to our room, I check the room, the cleanliness of the room. They have like 150 different standards. So I have to like make sure there's no hair on my pillow, make sure all the stuff was like orderly and there's an extra iron board or the mirrors were. So I checked for everything, and I would note it, report on it, and then I go eat at the restaurant. And I charge everything to the hotel. It's all being racked up on my credit card.
It's on your credit card, but you get reimbursed for it later.
I get reimbursed for it later. Or they actually remove it, but I keep all the points, which is amazing.
Oh my gosh,
so they will keep all the airline, the hotel points, the status. I quickly rose to like, the top statuses at all these hotels I was going to.
So like diamond, platinum.
And this was like, by that time I was in my mid-20s. Right, so I was like, I'm like a 24-year-old traveling.
You're flying all over the place. And to the best hotels, eating at like the best restaurants.
Yeah, and I had to do all the services like massage, golf.
Oh my god!
I had to drink alcohol, top shelf stuff too. I could order whatever I wanted. That's when I was dating my wife now at the time, so she got to come on a lot of trips with me. It was fun.
I mean, this seems like the absolute dream job.
It was. I was traveling like 25 days out of the month.
And you were loving it?
I was, yeah, because man, I was like being treated like a king everywhere I go.
I know.
Work was work. I did have to, but once I got into the groove of how everything worked, it became very automated and easy for me to do and find the things. So I was getting paid a handsome salary actually too to do all this. So on top of getting all the points, all this stuff, I was getting paid a salary to eat.
It's crazy.
And I'm eating for free all the time.
Like, what are the things that you took away from that experience?
I think that I remember my first hotel I went to, I think it was the Montage in Laguna Beach, which is probably one of my favorite hotels. I think it cost like, back then it was $1,000 a night, so maybe $1,500, $2,000 a night now. But I remember staying there, I had to go do the sauna or get a massage pretty much, which was like,
had to get a massage.
Yeah, I had to like rate the masseuse. So even some of those standards was how much pressure did they use? Did they check the level of pressure with you every 15 minutes, stuff like that. So I'm checking for little things like that, right? But I remember like after I got my massage, I was so relaxed and I was in the steam room, just like, I was like weeping because I was just so grateful. So that was my sentiment going to this, like, man, I was like, thank you, God. Like, wow, I have my dream job and I'm able to post this on Facebook and show off to my friends that I'm still like doing something cool. That was like fluff. But.
No, but that's interesting that you say that, because that connects to what you said earlier about this kind of need and desire to want approval. Like you showing your friends your big office at a hotel.
Oh yeah, that's always there. And that's waned over the years, obviously. I could really care less about that now, but yeah.
But it is something that a lot of people struggle with.
Yeah, especially in your 20s. Like, that's why you have people aspiring to be influencers, right? It's like, what are you trying to influence? Just show off your lifestyle that you can't even afford, or it's just dumb. It's a dumb subculture to be a part of now. But.
So I guess the big question is like, why isn't that your current job? Like, why didn't you stick with it? Like, why did you decide to leave that?
Eventually, the girl I was dating at the time got pregnant. We ended up getting married. So I think one of the reasons I couldn't keep doing it was for the sake of my marriage.
Did you want to keep doing it?
I think by then, I think I did it for like a year and a half, and the glitz and glamour kind of wore off, because travel does take its toll, even if you're going to 5-star hotels majority of the time, so again, I was traveling so much. It's like I barely got to see my wife, and I don't know. I think when you're traveling that much, you want to just be home. So yeah, I just wanted to see what I can do at home, I guess.
Okay. So was then the next thing that you did? What was that like? Was that the entrepreneurship, or you worked at somewhere else before you did that?
The next thing I did, I think I jumped into. That's when I really changed industries. I got into tech.
Ah.
Yeah. So I worked at a software company, but since I had no applicable experience in tech or anything, I had to start at the bottom. I was a business development rep. Well, pretty much what I was doing is passing off leads to the sales guys, right? So I was making the initial call, vetting. But the reason I went into tech was because, I think that was around 2013 or 14. Tech was blowing up then. Like, it was really prestigious job to be in tech. Not just prestigious, but the benefits, the work-life balance they always promoted was so good, and that's what I obviously looking for, leaving a job where I was traveling so much. So, I got into that job, and it was such a breath of fresh air because, I came from the hospitality industry, and anyone who's worked in hotels, at least, it's such a stiff-necked job. You're always in suits and ties. You have to work, it's like, on the clock. Even if your salary is worse, you're working more. You're working holidays a lot of time, right? It's just weekends, so it's just like it's very stiff, and it's very like you kind of have to watch out, keep an extra eye out. Right?
It's like you're always being watched.
Yeah, that too, and it's just, I think what I got from the hospitality industry is good. Like, I learned how to serve people. It wasn't from a heart of love, which I think makes it disingenuous a lot of times, but. Yeah, and I got a lot of social skills from working in hotel industry because I have to meet all kinds of people, but it's a very stiff-necked job, at the end of the day. It's just like you really feel that corporate grind to another level. And so it was a breath of fresh air going to tech because, I could wear whatever I want. I can come in on my own hours sometimes, a lot of times actually. I can take way more days off. I can,
And with a new family, that was much more important to you.
Very important, and the money was way better. It felt like you're really a part of the mission, especially when you're joining a startup like I did, where you're like one of the first 70 employees, right? So it's like, you have a clear goal, and everyone's on the same ship, not trying to kill each other, fire each other. It's like, we have a goal, let's go towards IPO. So I'm surrounded by a lot of smart people. So, like, for the first time, like, I respect this guy. He knows so much, or I can learn a lot from this person.
Whereas in the previous industry, you
hotel
weren't?
Industry, no, not really. Hotel industry, I mean, I didn't see a lot of intelligence. Honestly, I just saw a lot of like.
Or maybe the intelligence was in management positions.
Yeah, and it wasn't really. You're not challenged intellectually in the hotel industry, right? You're challenged to just do what the hotel says to do in terms of making money.
So is it more like kind of top down?
Roles. Yeah, it's very top down. It's also very assignment based. Like, you do this. It's very rote in a lot of ways and systematic. Where like tech is like always innovating. It can get rote too, obviously in tech, but it's just at that time for me, it was like, wow, this is a real nice change of scenery in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And like I said, would I go back to college? No, because when I was at that startup, that ended up going IPO 4 years later after I joined. Like, that was like an MBA experience for me. I learned how to do so much different positions. I learned how to talk and network with so many different people, not just within my company, at trade shows, at all this stuff. And it became an avenue for me to like increase my knowledge, increase so many components of my life, so socioeconomically even too. So it was
like,
great.
I mean, that's great. Like, what's like one thing that you got from that experience that you're super grateful for that you still use today as you're working on business and in life?
Yeah, one job I had at that startup was I got into product management, which honestly I had no business doing.
Dude, I remember when you called me up around that time. We were talking about that because you were getting into it and I had been doing it.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, what is this stuff? And I did my best to explain, but yeah, I remember you were getting up and running with that.
Yeah. They pitched that role as a product manager as being the CEO
of the product.
okay, yes and no in a lot of ways, right? But you really don't have a lot of control.
No.
But I guess like when I was in that role though, like it forced me to work with a lot of freaking smart people, developers. I mean, some people say they're not smart, but whatever. They are to me, and it was just interesting, you know, because I didn't know how to code. I didn't know anything. I had to like hold my own in a room full of way more seasoned people and
How'd that make you feel?
communicate. Oh, a lot of times I felt less than. A lot of times I felt
Imposter
like I didn't
syndrome?
belong. Yeah, a lot of times. But the reason I got into product was because, you know, the CEO's son was the head of product, and he saw something in me and really like recruited me. It really came alongside me, and it challenged me in a lot of ways. So it wasn't like I would never do that experience again. It was just hard, but I like being thrown in challenging situations because then, you know, it's either sink or swim a lot of times. And I ended up sinking in a lot of ways. I changed back to sales. Like I hate working with developers, but it was just a good learning experience that I use today because, man, it's just like it helped me develop some apps that I developed in the past.
Oh,
It
yeah.
helped me to think like in ways that, you know, helped. I think one valuable skill you get out of product management is how to prioritize things, right?
Yeah.
You get so many things to do, you have to prioritize accordingly. So that's helped me in that way, practically.
My gosh, like you said that, and I totally forgot. You're right. Like the later on the prayer app that you did, I remember you talked to me about it, and then like we talked again around 6 months later, and then you're like, oh yeah, I have an iOS and Android app. I was like, that's crazy. Like, wow, you move super fast. But what you're saying is like that ability to work with engineers and whatnot, you kind of got a taste of that as being a product manager.
Yeah, and just not being the smartest guy in the room, which is good. A lot of product managers I worked with were the smartest guys too. So I aspired in a lot of ways to be smarter, I guess.
So then what happened after that? Like, is that when you got into the entrepreneurship side?
No, after that I left the company after maybe a year or two after we went IPO because it started getting a little stiff-necked in there too. A lot of more like, you know, policies, all this stuff. And by then my shares had vested, right? So I was like, man, I'm good with all the money I'm making now. And I thought I'd try my hand at leadership and sales. So I started working at different startups in more leadership roles, getting more, you know, everyone's telling me, oh, the best way to make more money is by jumping ship. You know, if you're at the same company for 20 years, you know, or maybe 10 years, whatever, you only grow up so much, or every year, right? It's like a cap on how much your salary increases, maybe 4 or 5, 6%.
General rule of thumb is you probably want to work. You don't want to leave a company too quick, like 6 months. That can be seen as like a negative thing. So I think general rule of thumb is like 2 years. Like 2 years, switch jobs and get a 20, you know, 10, 15, 20% pay raise, and keep doing that every 2 years, basically.
Yeah, that's the advice I was given. So I left for a startup, which was a horrible startup, but I still made a lot more money and did my, like you said, 2 years there probably. Horrible culture, but I was able from there to pivot into a bigger leadership role at another startup. So and then from that other startup, that's when I really got into the entrepreneurship gig because I was making so much more money. I had more flexibility with my schedule, flexibility with resources to do something more, you know. So that's when I launched the go-kart company.
Okay, you got to talk about this because like this is what still blows. I mean, we talk about this. Later on he'll talk about it, but he eventually kind of handed it over to me. And I handed it over to someone else because I couldn't do the business anymore. But it's been like, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 years since its inception of that go-kart business. And I am still so shocked that there is not a competitor still to this day.
Yeah.
And you still get phone calls for the business, even though you've left. I still get inquiries, and I'm like, this is insane. Like, this is, and I bring this up because I continue to be like so surprised and impressed that you were able to find this thing that wasn't just a passing fad. It like endured for many, many, many years. And I'm just like, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was really almost, if you were to think about it, like a science project slash passion project turned into a business. And I think that's my MO with a lot of businesses now. Like I want this to, obviously you want to be passionate about it, but I feel like in Silicon Valley, a lot of things that I learned growing up is they always want to solve a problem. So they don't have to be passionate about an industry or something. They just want to solve a problem. And I feel like that's good for a lot of these tech people, because then you have, if you're solving a really big problem, obviously you're gonna make a lot of hella money, right? Yep. But like for me, I was just like, I just want to do something fun.
Right.
You know,
So by the way,
about.
this go-kart business it was a side gig. It wasn't like I'm gonna raise venture money.
Yeah, it's something I was doing while I had my full-time job still, when I was leading a sales team.
Yeah.
But the reason I started it was
I don't really know how it even came up.
Yeah, there's an Indiegogo campaign.
Oh.
These brand new electric go-karts that were coming out, made by Segway.
So by the way, Indiegogo is like what are those?
Kickstarter.
Yeah, Kickstarter, crowd-funded platforms where they're having a business idea. If people like it, they will pre-purchase essentially.
Yeah.
They'll pre-purchase. It's kind of like the infomercials we saw back in the days when we were young, like fancy Ginzu knives, and blah 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 blah. But in those cases, they had already made the product. In this case, it is like a concept. They're selling a concept.
Yeah. But what made this, sometimes bigger companies like Segway go on there to validate their products too, right?
Yeah.
Or I don't know, get pre-orders. Maybe kind of what like Elon Musk does with Tesla, get pre-orders into something. I don't know. So that's why Segway was on there. That's why I thought, oh, this one for sure is coming out. It's gonna look great, you know.
So by the way, did you just have a habit of perusing Indiegogo? Like, how did this even happen?
I think Indiegogo Kickstarter was huge at that time. And again, probably something popped up on Instagram. So shout out to Instagram for always posting stuff that's relevant to me. But yeah, I just saw an ad. I was like, oh man, these go-karts would be so fun. I think right now they're even selling at Costco for like $1,500 for a newer version. You know, they're still selling these go-karts. But I think on the Indiegogo thing, they're like going for $1,000. Maybe if you buy like 6, they'll go for like $800 or something, which I was like, oh, that's a steal. Of course I'm gonna do it. But I need to buy at least 6.
Yeah, so that's like $6,000.
Yeah.
Oh well,
like that.
I think there was a
less.
discount.
Yeah. So I was like, maybe I can make. I was like, I only had at that time like 4 people in my family. Maybe my youngest was born 5, but I was like, man, why would I need to get 6? Oh, I'll just make a business out of it.
Wait, so in the beginning, was it started by a business idea, or was it like, hey, sick, I want to play with this?
Sick, I want to play with this, and then I'm gonna turn it into a business. So passion, turn into a business. And
which, by the way, I think that's like a great thing to note, because I feel like a lot of times in the entrepreneurship world, it's all about like, hey, look for the passing trends, you know, look for this, like you said, solve this problem. But there's also this other kind of school of thought, which is just like, dude, just build it for yourself. Like,
yeah, for sure.
It's true for you.
And there was a lot of trends happening at the time. That's when like Bird and Lime scooters, electric scooters, were taking off.
Oh, yeah.
All in Santa Monica. Obviously, I lived in LA. So I think this is why a lot of vehicles were getting electrified. And now they're like, oh, let's introduce a go-kart thing. I was like, so I thought, oh, why not do the same thing Bird and Lime are doing with go-karts? You know, and so where I started with these go-karts initially, my idea was go to Santa Monica, Venice Beach, and rent them out individually for like, and just charge like $1 a minute. And surprisingly, everyone who saw one of these go-karts, because they look sick, right? Like, I want to ride this on the boardwalk. So I just rented out to them. That was my daily routine.
So I think like what even, you kind of jumped ahead, but I think the interesting part about this is like, if it were me, like you and I, our personalities are very different. Like you're kind of more spontaneous. If it were me, I'd be like, oh shoot, legally am I allowed to do this? Like, how do I deal with like insurance? Like, I don't know, there's like all these reasons I think in my head. I would think like, I don't know if I can do this, how am I gonna transport it? Like, will my wife say yes to buying this? Like, there's all these things. Like, how did you figure this out? Like, or like how did you process it, that you were able to just do it?
So the wife question is huge. That had to be a yes. So I think my wife was not on board fully, honestly.
Okay. Do you think it was valid?
No, because later of course it was all, when I presented the idea to her, first and foremost, it was all theory. We didn't have the machine.
Got it.
or the go-kart. So she's like, what? Like rent? I don't know. Like, you know, and she's not, I have, as an entrepreneur, so many ideas. So she's already vetted hundreds that she's canceled and nixed, right? So this is just another one adding or addition to the possible list of axes. But no, I already ordered it. I was like, man, I'm just gonna do it. So I ordered it, told her.
So that was a risk in itself.
Yeah. And I was like, just trust me. It's a minor investment, you know.
Okay. So it arrived.
I was like, if anything, I can sell them. She said, okay, fine.
Okay.
Right. So that was my backup plan. So that was the wife angle, and then, like you said, the insurance, the legality,
The transportation. I mean, these are big carts, by the way.
Yeah. So I was like, just gonna rent a van. You know, or I said, I'll just buy a van. It's like, what, $500 a month. Fine. I just had to make $500 a month. So that's when Turo was coming out. So I was like, oh, I'll just Turo the van out.
So by the way, Turo is an online platform that you can use to rent out your vehicle.
Car sharing platform.
Yeah. Okay.
So I was like, oh, that's how I'll supplement the cost. So that basis will cover for the van, the transport. And then the insurance, I was like, I found an insurance guy who would insure us because I found the same people who were insuring Lime and Bird scooters. It's like,
How did you find them?
I just researched like insurance brokers, whatever. So I was like, would you like to insure my business? Sure. It's like, it wasn't expensive. It was a few dollars a day. So, all right, got that. And then I think what I learned in the hotel industry, how to obtain like certificates of insurance, all that stuff. So I knew how to ascertain these general liability insurances, all that stuff.
So I want to note this because when Jay handed the business over to me, we had a job and then we had to get insurance. But I think at the time I couldn't get a hold of you. So I had to I spent literally a day and a half on the phone, on the internet, like trying to look for insurers. And I kept getting to these people who were like, oh, it's gonna take, weeks, it's gonna be hundreds of dollars. And I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
And so after a day and a half on the phone for many, many hours, I finally got to a vendor. And it turns out I looked through the history of the files that you shared over, and it was the same vendor. I'm like, piece of crap. Like, what the heck? Like this.
All that
I was, oh my gosh. But I was like, how the heck did you find out so quickly? And it's because, partially, it was because of your experience in the hospitality industry.
Yeah. So all the check marks are happening day by day. I obviously think through the same things you think through, but I don't see them as things to not do it. It's just things to overcome. Like, all right, I gotta get it done. Again, my rationale is like all these other dangerous businesses are operating, like scooters, all these stuff, electric bikes, they're being rented out. What is the difference between electric scooter and things? So I looked into the difference, and they're the same thing. Essentially, they're electric vehicles. So it's like I was like, okay, I'm gonna go under their thing. Obviously, I think when I first launched the company, I started doing that in Venice. I got real bad press. Like one person liked me, but I got like the Santa Monica News like hating on me. I still have the news article.
Wait,
this guy.
How long were you doing that when that happened?
I think I was like a week into my business. It turned out to be awesome. Like I posted it, I was laughing. So I was like, bad press is good press. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna run with this. They know I'm here now.
So the press was basically you were this guy. I had a picture of you driving the cart on Santa Monica Beach, and it basically said that you.
I did the shock at the time. Yeah.
And you basically the article was about you being shut down.
Yeah, wanting to shut me down. Like
this
guy adding another stupid vehicle to the Santa Monica boardwalk, which all the people who live in the area, like they're sick and tired of all these electric things.
Scooters being left in the middle of the road.
So they just thought I was just being another idiot or whatever, careless guy bringing stuff. She really tried to slam me. But it was cool. I got press. And it didn't stop, actually. People don't read news, really, so they just like the idea.
So I think that's like a really interesting point, because like I think that it would be another fear of mine of like, oh my gosh, like if I do this, what if somebody writes a bad news article about me? Oh my gosh, like I'm gonna be, but for you, it turned out that, like you said people just forgot about the news. But what's interesting is what happened is, did they like link to your website or something? Like I don't know how, but like Google organic searches, like I think that really helped your Google ranking.
I didn't even have a physical location, so it was, I don't know how. You really need nowadays, if you're trying to set up a business, at least a retail store on Google, the verification to do it is pretty rigorous. Like you had to film yourself at the store doing certain things.
Oh.
So like back then it wasn't as bad. I could just like drop a pin on a map and say, this is my location. Even though it was like, I didn't have one, right? It's a mobile operation. That's what also differentiated the business.
Right, because in America, when we were growing up, for go-karts, you'd have to go to this massive, it's like a raceway.
Indoor.
Like you would go there and it'd be gas go-karts and they'd be super loud. You can't even hear each other. There's all a lot of toxic fumes, and that's why it's outdoors. So you can really only use it when it's not raining and stuff like that.
Yeah. So the whole go-kart concept was electric, mobile, right? Fun. And not many people at that time had ridden go-karts. So I think that was another thing. And I think this is where I got my, wife's approval, is when she first rode the go-kart. She's like, oh, I get why you wanted this, right? She's like, she bought into the idea after she actually tried it. So the thing about Indiegogo was it get, any Kickstarter platform like that, crowdfunding platform, gives you like an allotment of 3 months at least before the shipments arrive, right? So I think I had like 3, 4, 5 months to ideate while they were sending me. So in that time I created the website, did all this stuff, got all my business planning done. And when the things arrived, we tested it. My wife tried it. She was finally green light after she wrote it. My oldest kid wrote it. He was like out of wits. I was able, I think your family came over one time, tried it. Like,
that's right.
All my friends are trying
My gosh,
it.
it was so fun.
Like, this is so fun. We're riding around the block. I'm taking it to the supermarket. People are like, look at you. Like, you just see the excitement that people have. So it just like keeps that like, I don't know, feeling going of like, oh, okay, this is it. Like, this is catchy. People do want to do this, especially tourists, especially, people want to have a fun time. So it grew from the whole Santa Monica experience. Like, I started getting tired out from doing one-on-one, like one person to me, like monitoring the rentals. I started getting offers from businesses hitting me up, birthday parties, like, hey, can you come to my kid's birthday party? I started having like different startups in Santa Monica hit me up, like, can you come to our company outing? So I was like, oh, okay, I'm making way more money. It's just like 1 or 2 hours, it's way easier. I'm gonna do this now. So I stopped doing the boardwalk really quickly once I found out, and I shifted the whole business idea to just doing events. And that's when like I started getting a lot of offers from, Nickelodeon, Viacom, all these big studios who just wanted to try it, and companies, startups, all these people who wanted to try for their outing. So again, they just had, I was like, in my mind, I was like, oh, duh, they have all the resources to spend.
And they don't want to deal with all this like maintaining and all that stuff.
So I was getting paid a lot of money now, which actually justified me to even think about making this a full-time business, even though it was just a side thing. I was doing it maybe on the weekends. Sometimes I'd take a day off if like some event was on a weekday.
Yeah, I remember you telling me, like, even talking with your wife, she was like, Sam, this business is awesome. Like, the kids have so much fun. Like, and it's like a family thing. You can take your kids there.
Yeah.
And I remember you telling me, like, you would sometimes like stop by, drop off the go-karts, teach them how to use it. You like go play golf.
Yeah.
And then you come back, pick up the go-karts, and pick up a few $1,000, and you're like, all right, I'm good.
Yeah, it was great. It was really great. Like, just like what I'm doing now.
I know, exactly.
It's like my whole life is geared towards efficiency in so many ways. And I think that's like, I don't know if it's, everyone defines efficiency differently, right? Some people think it's more control. Some people think it's more visibility into an issue, or some people think it's just more automation. For me, it's, it can be an amalgamation of all that. But yeah, it was great. Like, so I was loving life, like, especially when like music video people or people making music videos hit me up. They're like, we just want to feature your go-kart in a music video. That's, for real. That was a drop off. You're not even gonna use it? No. Or like a Jewish school hit me up. They're like, we just want to display your go-karts at our first day of school. Like, our theme is get ready to rev for the school year. And they just asked me to drop it off. They paid me like $1,000. I was like, all right.
You literally just
drop it off.
Nobody uses it.
I don't use it. Just for pictures. I was like, man, these people got money. So, and then that's also a byproduct of being in LA too, in terms of just like having, so go-kart business was one, I had other businesses. It's like there's like a hustle culture. I think that was attached to the lifestyle I was living to. So more the culture that I learned to grow up in. So yeah, I ended up starting multiple things too, but I don't know if you want to get into that.
Yeah. Well, I want to do a time check.
Yeah.
It's about 11. What do you want to do? We can either wrap it up. We can go into another thing. This part I can edit out.
Okay.
What would you like to go into?
I would like to wrap it up. I'm getting tired.
Yeah.
My brain is going.
Okay.
If that's okay.
Yeah. Then let's kind of final kind of topic.
Sure.
I think you like talked about like a lot of really interesting things, like, but I want to kind of get back to more maybe like philosophical, of like, what is like your philosophy on like entrepreneurship? Like if you're talking to like some of these guys out there, because you know who I'm hoping this video will be shown to are people who are thinking of ideas, but they're kind of paralyzed, or they're doing it, but they're not feeling the success of like, and so they don't, it's a lot of imposter syndrome. It's a lot of imposter syndrome, and I've talked to many entrepreneurs who are feeling this way, and they don't see them as entrepreneurs. Like, what would you tell them?
Imposter syndrome is very real. I've worked with a founder who had it, and this sucks because a lot of my job was just to encourage this guy, like out of his imposter syndrome. Like, no, you're smart, you're good, we're gonna do okay, right? So it's a real thing. I see it. Even I had it when I was about to open this. A little, not a little bit, like, oh, should I do this? You know, so it creeps in. But how to overcome it in a lot of ways is just, I think, like getting back to the why you're doing anything is very important, right? Like, or the belief in yourself and your vision, I guess. You know, the Bible says without vision, the people perish. So it's like, I think maintaining vision is so critical to you doing anything. Like, what is the vision of you being an entrepreneur and starting a business? Is it to, you know, X, Y, Z? Like, figure that out first, and then just stick with it. Like, and I don't know how people ascertain or get their vision these days, but you know, it comes in a lot of unique ways. It can be spiritual, it can be, I don't know, if we're talking from a philosophical lens, like, you know, it can be from within, or some type of value system you grew up with. So I would just say, first and foremost, get a vision and stick to it. Just see what happens, because at the end of the day, it's like, you're gonna regret not doing what's been on your heart, you know? And I think another thing that helps that though is getting a mentor, you know? Especially if someone reaches out and says, call me. I don't think, especially if that's another entrepreneur, like, I know entrepreneurs don't do that lightly all the time, and they don't give out their numbers just because they want to. Like, no, they probably see something in you, you know, to give you their number. I would say use it. I've already given my number out to a few people who see my business here, young guys who want to start business. They're like, oh, and the cool thing about this next generation, Gen Z, whatever, if you're in that, is like, I think their understanding of business is very good. Like, they know so much more than what I knew at their age. Like, I'm helping these two guys out who are starting their own coffee businesses, one here in California, and it's like, they have a good grasp on like the ideal customer profile, why they want to start a business. Like, one guy's like, man, I'm just starting a coffee shop. I know it's not going to make me rich. I know it's not going to be, you know I don't have to like expand. I just want to create one for a community and create a good community. And I just want to make damn good coffee. I'm like, that's a great vision. You know what you want. And you know like the dangers almost of like trying to expand a coffee store at the expense of revenue generation. Like, he's seen it now, right? So I'm like, oh, these guys are coming well informed. So all I'm really helping them with is some like intangible stuff you can probably find on ChatGPT or online, which is just like, man, the legalities, the financial structures, like simple things, you know, that they already have a grasp on, but like just helping them walk through it in greater detail. So like, get a mentor. Like, I think people are willing to help at all times, you know, especially if you started something successful, an entrepreneur, I'm sure they would most of the time want to like share in their success, especially if you're not competing with them, right? So stick to them. Don't take it lightly if someone offers you their phone number or email, like really, but you know, have some self-awareness too. Don't like bug the shit out of them too. And, you know, so yeah.
Yeah.
I think those are two things.
And final thing, what is your why? Why are you doing these businesses?
Why am I doing these businesses? One is because the Lord told me to do it. Second thing is because outside of the typical response of trying to provide for my family and make an impact in this community, which is very true and important, I think the biggest why outside of God telling me to do this is I want to create like a generational impact within my family by leaving some type of legacy in business for them.
Are you talking about wealth?
No, just the fact that like I think wealth is a byproduct of that, but the legacy I'm trying to leave is more like, man, my father loved God. He was good at what he did. He loved people well. So I think it's a legacy that's like something I can pass on almost. Like, hey man, this like business or what he did with this money that he's giving to me or what he did with these lessons, it's all stemming from a place of like his vision, like for that he got from the Lord. So I don't know if that answers the question, but the why is, I think that's a big part of my why. I'm starting, because I just turned 40, I'm starting to think about how am I gonna leave like a legacy for my children. And I think a lot of it involves what I'm doing now. And you know, some of the fruit of that is yet to be seen, like how my business will impact their lives, you know, how it will impact this community. Because I am planning to start another one, but it's more like, yeah, I'm just like thinking along those lines, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's similar to like the faith that you had, you know, before the go-kart idea, right? Like all you had was an Indiegogo website, and you've never even touched the go-karts, but you had an idea of like, I think this is what it could become,
Sure.
like a vision. And even though others may have felt differently, you're like, this is the way I feel, and I want to go with it.
Yeah.
I think same thing, what you're saying with your kind of the thing that you want to do with your family. Like I want to have a certain impact on them. Like I want them to look at their father and say, I'm proud of what my father,
Yeah.
the impact that he had through his business. It wasn't just he made enough money. It's like through the businesses, he did these wonderful things to help
Yeah,
his community, help us, and not only and teach us like how to be a good person.
Yeah, oh, for sure. So the biggest why is probably the value system behind why I'm doing all this. You know, because back then when I did like the go-kart business and all this, I was really driven by money. I just wanted to be rich.
Yep.
I want to make a lot of money.
Yep.
I realized that's even more shallow because it's not a bad pursuit, but you know, but anyways, it's just not, it wasn't it for me, honestly. I felt like I was still a slave to money. And you never want to be in that position because it's just, again, the value system for me is very important. Like there's a level of integrity I want to maintain in business, a level of, you know, transparency, all this stuff that really carries you so much further, especially in a small town like Kona, Hawaii, where everyone gets to know you. Like, your reputation is it's a valuable currency, you know? So again, going back to the value system and why I do things, it's like, it's rooted in the Bible, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. The reputation not only helps you business-wise, so you can do it out of selfish reasons because it'll help your business, but also, I think just in general, just it makes you feel better. Like you can look in the mirror and be like, hey,
Yeah, for real.
I'm glad what I'm doing is making me money. It's supporting my family. It's helping the lives of others. That's a pretty amazing thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, good. Hey, thanks for hanging out, man. By the way, we spent the past few days camping, so he drove a lot. Really tired, but figured I was going back to the mainland tomorrow, and this is the only time we could do this. So thanks, Jay, for doing this, man. Peace.
Cheers, bro.